Attorney General Loretta Lynch announced a Department of Justice investigation into the Chicago Police Department. This is what is known as a pattern or practice investigation, looking into the possibility that the Chicago Police Department has systematically violated the Constitution, Nick. And this is very important. We're looking at two different things that are going on. First, Emanuel is not getting a break from the Obama administration, regardless him being really, really close to Obama in the past, being a chief of staff and being part of the daily machine. Now it seems that the Obama administration is going to look into this just the same way, because just recently the Department of Justice launched investigations of a very similar nature into Ferguson, Missouri and Baltimore. So we see that Chicago is now put at that level of conflict. The racial tensions are high, but also the doubt that the police department is able to do their job the right way.
They really need to. I mean, you look at the way that Rahm Emanuel handled the shooting of Mr. McDonald, Laquan McDonald, the young kid who was shot 16 times last year, right? We saw how that was completely politicized because he wanted to keep that under wraps as long as he could until the election was over. He didn't want another Ferguson on his hands, right? So he threw some money at the family, and you can't do that because the people who should be held responsible won't.
Correct.
Right? If we're talking about Officer Van Dyke, for example, if you try to keep these things under wraps for your own gain politically, then we're having a whole corrupt system that's just not going to be beneficial for anyone except for yourself. So I'm glad to see this thing happening.
But even as an intelligent politician, you will think that he could have the chance to bring this to the light and show that he was doing a good job.
Right.
Instead of trying to hide it the old school way. Now, this inquiry will focus on the police department use of force, deadly force, and accountability, specifically examining racial motives to a system that might have handled allegations in different ways depending on the race that it was coming from. Now, another very important thing to look at is the fact that Loretta Lynch, in her statement announcing this investigation, she was very clear that this was an investigation that will not focus on individuals. This will focus on the systems, meaning we won't see any indictments coming out of this situation. I think it's also a break for the police department that is shifting right now because they're expecting a new superintendent of police in Chicago, but at the same time it goes to show that there's no teeth to this bite, really. There's gonna be recommendations to the police department in the ways they should handle things in the future, but not necessarily we'll see some finger pointing to a culprit.
Yeah, and I'm glad, we're going to have to see where this goes, but I'm glad to see someone like Loretta Lynch going after Rahm Emanuel here, going after this whole situation in Chicago as well. Even bigger issues. She's going after Sepp Blatter of FIFA too now for corruption charges, so she's all over the place.
Yeah, well, Jason Van Dyke, the officer in question, has been charged with murder, and many are asking for the Mayor Rahm Emanuel to resign after this incident.